Hey guys, this is another review of Euro Australian dollar, and it has become one of my favorite pairs to trade. Reason being, its movement has probably been a lot more clearer to me than the other pairs, and I've just gotten a lot more love and appreciation for the pair. Now, last week we had this huge movement. So it was about 200 plus pips this last weekly candle that we had. And as we can see from this structure is that there was an indecision candle on the weekly. Now that indecision candle, or what we'll call a doji candle, is an indication that the market makers are probably unsure of where they want the price to be. So we saw that price came up here, came back to this major resistance level and rejected it, breaking this support level and this previous one here that was formed under last week's candle. So this is very good sign that this overall head and shoulder that we are looking at will probably get a touch to the neckline and then break and continuation. So this is a very good look. On the daily, we're gonna focus more on the head, which is at this side, right? So this is the neckline here. We have the head, and we're gonna focus on what we are assuming to be the right shoulder. Now, we can see that the whole movement that was happening here, there was a break and retest of the structure, retested that, and this retest formed a major resistance level. We saw the price came down here, found support, and came back up to retest this major resistance level, and it has done it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So that those four, I mean, I thought that the third one would have been enough, but price went up back there last week and made a fourth touch on that resistance level for the retest, and then it finally decided, hey, we're gonna continue down. Now, as you can see that after this massive bullish movement at this major resistance level, we had an inside bar, and that inside bar at a major resistance level is an indication usually for a short. If we had an inside bar at support, as we can see right here, it's usually a bullish sign. So an inside bar at resistance is usually a bearish sign, and an inside bar at support is usually a bullish sign. So we had that on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday we had the continuation down. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see that this structure was forming almost like a rising wedge. However, we never got that third touch on the resistance level because this major resistance level here would have held. So we're gonna zoom in a bit, and of course we had that break, but we never had the breakout. I didn't call it a false breakout, I call it a failed breakout. Reason being, it did break out through, but it never held. When the market opened on the Sunday, it closed back inside the structure. So it broke through, but it just never stayed in. So we got that movement down, retested the resistance level 1, retested it twice. That formed an inverted head and shoulder, which we saw played out to the resistance level, and then a continuation down. One or two things, or should I say 3 things, that could have happened here was a break and retest, which is 1, a double top 2, or a continuation down, which is 3, and it just hit and continued down. So scenario 3 played out. The previous weekly support that was formed, we can see that it broke strongly with a strong 4-hour bearish candle. So it impulsively broke down. Currently, we see that price formed a new support level here, which is tweezer bottom. So what we can do is identify that with the horizontal array tool and mark it. So given this massive movement down of 200 plus pips, we can assume that price may gap when it reopens, or so this is some of the scenarios that may play out. Scenario 1, retest to that resistance level that was broken, that support level that was broken, sorry, becomes resistance, retest of that level for a continuation down to the first major support. Or we could assume that this is a left shoulder, and this right here is forming a head, and then it may come back down to retest there for a right shoulder. I don't know. We don't know. We're just making projections. So one projection could have been that price may continue up to this level, right? And when it continue, it may reject it to form that right shoulder. So this could be another scenario so that can play out, right? So we may have that, and then we can look forward for this support to hold again for an inverted head and shoulder. But that's just worst case scenario. So given that that's the long bias that I would have for the pair, if this resistance level is broken, then we can look for the long. However, this would be a very good area to look for a short if there may be a retest, or we could draw a fib and see what the possible levels to trade off may be. So we may have this type of movement. Okay, so we have that marked up, and what's nice to see is that the first level lines up perfectly. The first target level lines up perfectly with the major support, and that could be a confluence for the movement. So this is just a projection of what may possibly happen, and let's see how the market plays out. Happy trading.